What is up, everybody? This is John with Archer Fish. I just want to give you a quick video, the lowdown on my 3 favorite bass fishing lakes in Southern California, and probably some of the best bass fishing you will find. I've been fishing these lakes for a few years, and I've fished them very hard. I fished them very often, so I got a pretty good grasp on how to fish these lakes and if they're any good. So without further ado, number 3 on the list, San Vicente Reservoir, one of my favorites. This is an outstanding lake. It's very big. It is full of bass, big schools of hungry bass. One of the cons is it's far away. It's down in San Diego. It's about a 2.5 hour drive for me, 3 hours on the way back. And when you're exhausted from getting up early, fishing all day and fishing in the sun, 3 hour drive home can be tough. So one of the pros is the staff down there are awesome. They're super cool. They've got a golf cart that they will actually take you from the dock back up to your car, so you don't have to walk up the massive ramp like you do at Castaic. So that is very cool. That lake is just, it's going off. It's fantastic. I usually finesse fish it. I use the Senko and the drop shot. I know the lake really well. It's not that big. I mean, acreage, it's big, but you kind of find your spots and you're gonna get on fish. Especially this time of year. There's still a lot of spawners, so you can still catch a lot of spawning fish and post-spawn fish. And what is cool is in the summertime, they school up in these giant wolf packs, and I've seen them, you know, through the clear water, and I've seen hundreds of fish, all 3+ pounds. I mean, it is incredible to see. And in the later summer, like late, you know, June and on, and even right now, I think, they start hitting top water, and it is insane. And their top water bite there is unlike Castaic, where Castaic, they will boil the bass, but it's very tricky to catch them on top. Not at San Vicente. You get anywhere near one of those boils, you're gonna get that fish. And I typically throw the big Lucky Craft topwater, the name escapes me, the I'm a Skimmer, walking baits, anything on top. And I throw big ones too. And you get it near those fish and you're gonna get bit. And these are nice sized fish, 2.5 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds, and you're getting them on top water. The frog is also very good down there. Another one of the cons is there are these giant 20-foot, 30-foot trees in the water, basically around most of the lake. So that can be tricky. You have to stay really focused on what you're doing. And if you're Senko fishing or finesse fishing in general, you've got to have your hands on that. And that's where like a sensitive rod really does come in handy. Yes, you can catch a bass on any rod, really. But if you're finesse fishing these clear waters and you have to use lighter line, and not braid, you want to have a light rod, something sensitive that you can feel that little tap and you can get that fish out of there before it wraps you up in those giant trees. I've lost some really good fish in those trees. So yeah, that's one of the cons is the trees. But the pro is there's so many fish in there. I've caught so many 5 and 6 pound fish. Obviously, they're much bigger fish than that in there. And it's on almost all year. Every time I've gone down there, I've never gotten skunked. So there's always a way to catch these fish. It is just loaded. There's no striper, I don't think. Nope, and no smallmouth. So it's all largemouth bass. I think, don't quote me on that. I'm fairly certain it's just largemouth. Yes, just largemouth. So anyway, yeah, fantastic fishery. Also big catfish down there if you're interested. So San Vicente is number 3. I love that lake. The boats are okay too. They're not the fastest, but they're, you know, they'll do the job. So number 2. Okay, you ready for this? Number 2, best bass fishing lake in Southern California is Lake Cachuma. Cachuma is outstanding. It's been one of my favorite lakes the last couple years, ever since I discovered it. I think it was last year when I got my PB there. The lake is full of northern bass. They're super aggressive, and even as more people find out about this lake, it was kind of like a hidden gem for a while, but as more people find out about it, the bass are not harder to catch. They're everywhere, and you can catch them on everything. Every time I've been this year, I've got them on crankbaits, jerk baits, spinner baits. Let's see. I don't think I've gotten any on top water. I've gotten some frog bites last spring, but I haven't really tried it this time. So Cachuma, you can catch them on anything, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to hit these points with a jerk bait or a crankbait and just get hammered. And in the fall, in the next few months, I think until like November, I was getting 30, 40, 50 fish on the crankbait. It's ridiculous. And it's so much fun because it's a fast way to fish. It's really thrilling because they just, it just loads up. So fantastic fishing because of that. It's not crowded. So with Vicente, you do have some pleasure boaters going down there, and that can be a little pain in the butt. But with Cachuma, there's not really any pleasure boaters. There's some kayakers and things like that, which, that's nothing. And so, the lake traffic isn't all that bad. I mean, I fish many places there where an entire cove, I'll just have it to myself. So it's not very busy. There's not a lot of pleasure boaters or no pleasure boaters, and it's a great fishery, and I've caught fish down there every single time I've gone, and lots of fish. The one con, it is a little expensive, the boat rentals. It's like, I think $90 for the day, which is one of the more expensive places. But again, it's part of the Rocky Mountain boat rentals, and you rent 5, you get 1 free, so kind of a discount. The people there are super nice, super helpful. They'll tell you what the fish are biting on and where to catch them and all that stuff. So the staff is really cool. What else? The other thing about that lake is another pro is one of the cons is I've yet to find, I've only caught the one 8-pound 11 fish there. I have not found any large fish this year. I think maybe 3 pounds is the biggest fish, 3.5 maybe. So I'm not seeing a lot of big fish caught out of there. I know they're in there, so they're there. Crappie, there's trout, lots of smallmouth. I mean, that lake is probably the best smallmouth lake I've fished around. It is just fantastic. There's some days where I catch way more smallmouth than largemouth. So if you're into that, and they're super aggressive, and we know how the smallmouth fight, it's fantastic. So Lake Cachuma, it has been good almost year round for me. It's by far, you're going to catch the most fish there, whether it's Senko fishing, reaction bait stuff, it's fantastic. So Lake Cachuma is number 2, one of my favorites. It's a little closer than San Vicente, about an hour and a half away, so that's not too bad. Yeah, so that's an awesome lake. Number 1, all right, the number 1 bass fishing lake in Southern California right now for me is Casitas. Lake Casitas is incredible right now. The last few weeks, this lake has turned into the Casitas of old. If you go back in some of my old fishing videos, I've been fishing this lake for years. One of my first trips was in the mid-2000s with a fishing guide, and he put me on just a ton of nice chunky bass, and that was in September. And then I've been a few times since then, and it was really incredible a few years ago. Just great fishing, and the size of bass, the average fish is like almost 3 pounds there, which is incredible. You don't catch a lot of dinks. And then suddenly the lake turned off. I said it before in other videos, the pH balance. What happened was the water, we had all this snow melt and all this rain. And what happens is that the lake got... So one of the problems in the last few years was that lake got so much extra water in it, and it had been low for so long that it went up like 20, 30 feet. So what that did was all those trees and plants that are now underwater, they start decomposing, and it messes up the pH balance and creates an unlivable atmosphere and habitat for these bass. So what they did was they just went down deeper than 20, 30 feet. So you could catch them at 35 feet if you have the sonar, I guess, but for any normal anglers that are going out there, it was incredibly hard. That lake just turned off for a couple years. Luckily, and this is weird because it's the opposite with Castaic, as that water temperature lowered, all those dead trees that were there, they come out of the water now, they're out of the water. So as the lake levels lowered, all that vegetation that was rotting is now, out of the water. So what's happening is the lake has been clearing up. That lake is like, it's getting clearer and clearer by the day. Literally, I've gone to that lake once or twice a week for the past few weeks, and it's just getting clearer and clearer. And what's happening is the aquatic vegetation and the grass is growing, which is incredible for the fishery. It's fantastic. It cleans the water. It's a good place for bass to hide, to to guard their fry, bait to hide, whatever it is. So it's just looked incredible. It looks like it did back in the mid 2000s, like I've said in another video. I mean, it's like an aquarium. It's getting there. It's not quite there, but it's getting there. I can see it. And I'm seeing a lot of bass swimming around, a lot more active bass than I've seen in the years past. And anyone can tell you this, like the past few years around this time, it was tough to get a bite there. You know, you're not seeing any fish, you know, you're not catching any fish. It was really, really tough. But because of those low water levels and because of the drought, you know, those fish are everywhere, and that lake is just turning on. It is packed full of bait. I've been able to net shad, or at least get shad, the last few trips there, which is just awesome. So it's just been outstanding. And not to mention the average fish size, 2.5 pounds, you know, with a lot of 4-pounders in the mix. The other day I must have caught 3 4-pounders, multiple 3s and 2s, you know, 2.5s. I mean, it was a nice day, and that was some on shad and mostly on plastic. So it's been really, really good. It's not that crowded of a lake. There's no pleasure boaters and stuff. There are a few kayakers. You know, most of the people there are cool. The staff is really cool. And it's a quiet lake because of the lack of pressure and the lack of pleasure boaters and stuff. So again, a great lake, and it's not that expensive. You can take the boat out for, you know, $65-$75, I think. And the guys that work there, the guys that run the boat rental, are just awesome, man. Super cool guys. So that's it. My number one lake to bass fish in right now is Lake Casitas. So get out there and catch some fish. And of course, practice catch and release. Take care of the fish. Take the fish out for a quick photo. Put it back in. If it was a long fight, or if it's a big fish, or it's spawned out, you know, give it some time in the water. You know, try not to manhandle them too much. You know, try not to, you know, mess them up. If it's too far down in the gullet, you know, just cut the line as close down as you can. Don't rip them up trying to get the hook out. You know, the hooks are cheap compared to that fish's life. You know, a lot of fish die of natural causes. A lot of fish die from catch and release. Even if you're very careful with them, there's nothing you can do about it. So I just ask you, please catch and release. And I catch and release everything, the crappie, the trout, everything, because I think it helps the fishery, you know, maintain, you know, health. You know, those crappie serve a purpose, you know, those trout serve a purpose. So, you know, practice catch and release, take care of these lakes, because we will miss them when they're gone. You know, we've had stretches where they're not fishable, and it hurts. So take care of these lakes. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.